Hey everyone, Off the Mic Sports Network. I feel like I'm a broken record here. Another Browns thought, because The Athletic and Jason Lloyd came out with a massive piece on the Cleveland Browns and this whole Deshaun Watson just debacle that we'll call it of the last 3 years, and specifically the 2024 season. What happened after the loss to the Houston Texans, them firing offensive coaches, and what it led to. And I got to tell you, man, this was about as bad of a look for this organization. And this organization has had some bad looks. This was bad because my main conclusion from this whole thing, and I've been saying this pretty much for about 2 to 3 seasons. I've been saying this for a while, and I was worried that it was going to go in this direction, but, I was willing to feel it out. But I've been saying this for a while. Deshaun Watson really just broke and also infected the Browns organization more and has caused borderline irreparable harm to this organization because veterans were questioning decision-making from coaches and leadership, wondering why the hell are we going to stuff that isn't working. We saw this in the media with Jack Conklin and Joel Bitonio openly questioning the offensive line schemes and stuff. You saw how this was not working. There was stuff in this article about how Deshaun Watson was not getting proper depth in his routes and stuff, or in the pocket in terms of his dropbacks. This was a mess. And I've said from the minute that this whole thing started that this reeked of poor ownership. This reeked of Jimmy and Dee Haslam and the gross desperation that this organization has been trying to find a quarterback. And they, I guess you could say, overcorrected. They had a good quarterback in Baker Mayfield, and I've maintained that they were right. They were absolutely right to move off of Baker Mayfield because he did not warrant a contract extension. And he needed to grow more, and they didn't have time to do that. So they went out and got a different quarterback. Granted, he had a ton of baggage on him and hadn't played. And look what happened. They gave him this ridiculous contract that's unheard of. It hasn't been replicated. There hasn't been a fully guaranteed contract to that level yet since Deshaun Watson did this. And you piece back all the stuff that was talked about in the buildup into when Deshaun Watson was signed and the meetings before that. There was reports that Kevin Stefanski was very excited about having Deshaun Watson in his wide zone scheme, Gary Kubiak, Mike Shanahan style offense. And he showed that to Deshaun Watson about what things were made successful. Well, what this article told us is that Deshaun Watson didn't want to do that after he signed, which tells me this guy hoodwinked and completely bamboozled a desperate franchise into doing this and going to the point. I want to know the timeline of events that week of where Deshaun Watson eliminated the Browns from contention to the Browns getting back into contention and ultimately trading for and signing him. Because all of this just reeks of ownership, and this reeks of Deshaun Watson taking advantage of a desperate ownership group who didn't know what the fuck they were doing and meddling in football operations. That being said, Andrew Berry does not come out of this looking good. I've been saying that for months. And Kevin Stefanski in particular, who I have defended and I think is a great coach, did not come out looking great in this article. Because Kevin Stefanski, and this is what I talk about, infecting an organization and causing, irreparable harm. Kevin Stefanski reportedly in this article did not openly criticize Deshaun Watson in quarterback film review sessions. He did it for Jameis Winston. He did it for Baker Mayfield. That reeks of him being nothing more than a puppet and a figurehead, which is not a good look for him because I think Kevin Stefanski is a great coach. He's won 2 Coach of the Years. He has won with everything but Deshaun Watson. But that tells you the common thread in this thing. This organization was desperate for a quarterback. They went for a guy off of his past success, even though if you paid attention to some of the stuff in Houston, and I've seen some reporting about this, Deshaun Watson had a lot of his deficiencies masked by Bill O'Brien. And you had to teach this guy pro concepts and stuff. And that's why he wanted to run the shotgun-based spread formation, which made him so successful in college at Clemson. That's not going to work in the NFL. And by the time you try to make this offense try to work in 2020 and you try to change the offense, which made no sense whatsoever. I said that for weeks. And another revelation in this thing that I'll get to in a second that really pissed me off. But you change this offense for a guy who hasn't performed in that offense in 4 to 5 years. This is what you get. You get crap. And you get a guy who doesn't go the correct amount of steps in his dropbacks. It screws up the protection. It screws up the route. He doesn't see things. He doesn't see the field well. And that's why you get this historically bad offense. Now, how we got here as well, firing Alex Van Pelt last season, which made no sense coming off of an 11-win season. Made zero sense whatsoever. That caused Bill Callahan to leave, the offensive line coach. And yeah, that was a problem. Yeah, this offense took a step back because Bill Callahan left. I don't think it's actually, been as marginally bad as it was initially. Like, Bill Callahan masked some things, but there were some problems with this offensive line. They weren't as great as built up to be. But Bill Callahan was a big linchpin, former head coach with Kevin Stefanski. And so he leaves after Alex Van Pelt got fired. Reportedly in this article, that was a big tipping point for him. Like, he was never going to join his son Brian in Tennessee. But then he did once it was abundantly clear that Alex Van Pelt was not coming back, and that led to Andy Dickerson coming in, and the whole thing, the rest is history. Like, this systematically, Deshaun Watson in the span of 3 years tore down this organization. And this is and I would even say, go as far as to say, in a span of a few months, ripped this organization apart. Because this organization won 11 games and went to the playoffs. They were the highest wild card team and were projected to beat the Houston Texans in Houston. Now they're picking number 2 in the draft because they made all of these changes to double or triple down on this quarterback that has not performed at all. 19 starts. And now he's had 2 Achilles injuries. He I guess he twisted his ankle while he was recovering. He might have not been in a walking boot. They might be able to recover some of the money. The point is, Deshaun Watson infected this organization, and he might have caused irreparable harm to the point where I don't know if Kevin Stefanski is going to come back from this. He's going to get another year, but I don't know if he's going to be able to survive if things go bad next season. Andrew Berry, I don't think he's going to be able to ever, be at the general manager level, or he'll have to work his way up. And at a certain point, there's got to be questions about the Haslams as owners, and they'll never sell the team. But at some point, this is ridiculous, man. The meddling into football operations every single time. And at the most crucial time in their development, they had a quarterback in the building. They were right to move off of him, but they went for the wrong guy. And, on some level, I give the Browns credit for taking a bold swing, but this was grossly desperate. It was gross for a lot of the other reasons that we've talked about on this channel that are not related to football. But when you read this article and you read all the things, and you even read that veterans in the locker room were kind of quietly happy that he tore his Achilles. So basically, all them defending Deshaun Watson, and who knows who these people were, but they were quietly happy. Hey, they recognize this wasn't going well. And to have 3 wins after an 11-win season with Joe Flacco as your quarterback. Again, this just, like I said, this organization's infected. It's got a disease. It's terrible. And I thought they were past this, but Deshaun Watson sucked this organization back to where it was for so many years of my life. And I hate Deshaun Watson for that with a passion. These seasons, specifically this one, were worse than the seasons that I had to deal with them deliberately tanking in 2016 and 2017. Like when they tanked and they got Myles Garrett and then they got Baker Mayfield the next year. Those seasons, at least, some level of joy, I guess. There was soulless stuff going on during this season because it was hard to root for the quarterback. It was hard to watch this product on the field. It was hard to see this team even do anything successful. It was hard to see a receiver like Amari Cooper regress. So much went wrong this year. And I've said it for weeks. If you want to defend Deshaun, you are on an island on your own. It is clear as day. He is the sole reason why this organization is in the position that they are in. They did everything to try and make this thing work with him. 19 starts, you've got all the evidence you need. Never got more than 300 yards. Joe Flacco did that on a regular basis in 5 to 6 starts that he had with the Cleveland Browns. PJ Walker was producing. Jameis Winston's producing with this team. Baker Mayfield had better production than Deshaun Watson, the guy they dumped him for, which is why so many people are saying the Browns were wrong to dump Baker Mayfield. That's up for debate. I don't agree with that, but the point is Deshaun Watson is at fault for all of the Browns' problems right now because a lot of those things would be covered up with great quarterback play or even semi-adequate. But when you see how bad that this has gone, there's only one point. Like, you can point it at ownership because they're the ones who gave out the contract. Absolutely. But Deshaun Watson totally is just an evil, just piece of shit, because you could look back at that article and basically say, yeah, Kevin Stefanski showed me off. Yeah, I'm totally fine with working. And then, no, I don't want to do that. And they don't have a choice to do that because they're paying him $230 million fully guaranteed. I'm speechless, man. Like I've talked for so long about this. I'm so sick to my stomach. Hopefully they can correct this. I will say it again. I don't think the fix at quarterback is in the top of this draft. I think Jalen Milroe can be molded into something, but they can't take him in the first round. So good luck. Good luck, man. But man, they missed on so many different levels. And it starts with the quarterback. It starts with Deshaun Watson. Fuck you, Deshaun Watson. I've said that with a passion. You just took the soul out of me watching football for the last few seasons. And every time you've been on the field, for maybe one game in that Baltimore game. But even then, what am I supposed to think? Because you got hurt in that game, and then it led to more success. Who's to say if he's not hurt in that game and he plays the rest of the season that the Browns make the playoffs? There's no reason for me to believe that whatsoever. Anyway, those are my Browns thoughts. I'll talk to you guys real soon. I'm so frustrated after reading that article. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.